Travel Watch, we are going to revisit our top story. Travelers coming into the U.S. now have another task on their pre-flight checklist. Anyone heading to America, including U.S. citizens, must now take a COVID test within 1 day of their departure, and that is regardless of vaccination status. The new rules are aimed at slowing the spread of the Omicron variant. So joining me now with the information you need to know to save you some trouble when you're planning your travel, you're traveling over the holiday season, is Thomas Pellini. He is a business news and transportation reporter for Insider. So glad you're here because, you know, we covered the news, but now this is the news you can use because people are planning to travel. I'm one of those people planning to travel outside of the country. I'm driving, though, which is a little different, but also some family members wanted to come back to the U.S. with me. And now, you know, we're sort of constantly checking information to see if anything has changed. How is the travel industry reacting to these new changes? Because I'm sure it's really thrown a wrench into the business model.
It really has. It's a stressful time to be an international airline right now. All airlines are closely monitoring the situation with Omicron and the new testing requirements. The main carriers that are going to be impacted are the big three U.S. international carriers. So you have American, Delta, and United, because they're the ones that fly to overseas destinations that are now going back into lockdown. A few of their destinations have already closed off, so it's not a great time to be an international carrier, but it's not just them. Any carrier that flies to an international destination from the U.S. is going to feel some impact from this. Travelers are either going to want to push back their trips or they're going to think twice about booking that international trip. They might stick to domestic destinations, and it's a really precarious time because we just had last month the U.S. reopened to many of the European countries that were affected by the travel ban, only to have new travel restrictions come back. It's not a great sign from the White House that we were so quick to impose new travel restrictions because it's really going to put pause on anyone booking an international trip. And now with the added stress of testing within 24 hours, it's not a great time to be planning an international trip. But airlines are hesitant on making drastic changes. So we have Delta and United. They're still flying to South Africa, even with the new testing requirements and the new travel restrictions from that region. We have American and Delta. They're still flying to Israel, even though the country isn't accepting a good number of travelers. So airlines are being cautious. We're gonna have to wait and see how the variant plays out before they make schedule changes. But it's just not a great time to leave the country, although it is doable.
Right. And I think that what Americans need to understand, too, is when we talk about testing, we're talking about even Americans coming back into the country need to be tested first. And the first thing that came to mind for me is if I'm in a foreign country, I wouldn't have the first clue as to like how to get a test, what test is approved, a quick turnaround time. Are all of these things going to be issues?
Absolutely. If you were a first-time traveler leaving the U.S., you know, for the first time since the pandemic hit right now, you would be understandably confused, frustrated at the process. I've left the country multiple times in the past year, and each time there's always been a hassle for me. But the good news is that the testing infrastructure in foreign countries is generally good. You can get PCR tests overseas. You can get rapid antigen tests overseas. It's going to come down to a few things. It's finding the testing sites and then cost. So the good news about the U.S. is that we don't require a PCR test to get back into the U.S., whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. You only need the base test that you need is the rapid antigen test. Those are the cheapest. They're often readily accessible overseas. You're not going to really spend more than around $50 for that test. Each country is different, of course, but you'll get the test back within a day in most cases. So that's going to be the best for international travelers coming back to the U.S. Because the PCR tests with the sub 24-hour turnaround times, those are going to be the most expensive and tricky to find. I paid more than $200 to get a PCR test with a 2-hour turnaround time on a recent trip. So get the rapid antigen test because it's going to be the cheapest and have the quickest turnaround time. And then in terms of finding the test, each country is different in terms of getting a good location, but airlines often have a database of testing sites in the foreign countries that they fly to. And then a great resource is the U.S. embassies in each country on the website, on the State Department's website. for each embassy location. They'll often have an Excel spreadsheet giving you testing locations, pricing, and turnaround times, and links to make appointments.
Very nice. See, that is news you can use, because you never really think about, contacting an embassy, really, unless you're in trouble. And that's great information. You did talk about, though, the more expensive tests, and that they can kind of get up there in price. If you've got a family of 4, that's sort of a whole extra chunk. It could be as much as an additional, airline ticket. Are the costs solely the responsibility of the travelers, or can they, I don't know if insurance can cover any of it? What's the deal with that?
Oftentimes, it's going to be the burden of the traveler to pay for the test. I have had no luck with getting insurance to pay for an overseas test. It's not like here in New York City where I can get a PCR test covered by my insurance. So travelers need to build the price of the test into a travel budget. I always budget more than I need to, just in case I need that, 2-hour turnaround PCR test. But it's absolutely going to have an impact on travel budgets. And for a lot of people who are vaccinated, who already had COVID, it might seem like a waste because this is money that could be going to something else, while now it's just going to a test that most people are expecting to be negative anyways. But for the unvaccinated, for the people that haven't had COVID, obviously it's a worthwhile expense. So that's why I recommend trying to find the cheapest test, the test with the quickest turnaround time, just to get back into the U.S. You never want to be left in a foreign country without a way to get back to the U.S. So build the price of the test into a travel budget. But again, people might just say, well, if it's going to cost me more than $200 to get tested, I'm either going to shorten this length of my trip, or I'm just going to stick to a domestic location where I don't need to get tested. So it's going to have an impact on how people travel for sure, because of the potential cost of it.
So you travel a lot, so you can plan and plan and plan, and then sometimes there are just hiccups. Sometimes you didn't expect the traffic jam, and suddenly the buffer time that you gave yourself becomes 0 buffer time. And sometimes labs get jammed up. Sometimes it takes a little longer to get the test results than you had anticipated. Is there any wiggle room with airlines, any flexibility if someone can't get the results of their test before their flight?
Absolutely. Airlines really do understand that it's not often guaranteed that you'll get the results when you say, and especially now with the tight testing limit of 1 day before departure, airlines are going to need to be flexible with this, and we're already seeing that. It's going to be at their discretion, of course, but if there are seats available on the next flight, an airline should have no problem whatsoever saying, if you can't get on this one, we'll get you on the next one. But the problem with that is that airlines aren't flying as frequently as they were before the pandemic to a lot of their destinations. So if someone misses their flight because of a testing mishap, it might be another 24 hours before they're able to get on another flight. And then by that time, they'll have to get retested. They might have to get retested depending on the rules of the airline. So it's do your best to, and again, that's why the rapid tests with the 15-minute or 30-minute turnaround times are going to be the best. Because you don't have to worry about the test result not coming in time. So that's really why travelers should stick with that rapid test.
Yeah, so true. Thomas, I was just thinking about how bent out of shape some people are getting over having to wear masks on airlines, and I can just imagine the frustration of, dragging your kids and the whole family to that front desk and, not getting the test in time. It's just another level of frustration. I implore people to consider that it's the holiday season and just be kind to each other and have a lot of patience, lots of patience. Thomas Polini, thank you so much.
Thank you.